Hello everybody and welcome in to Blue Jays Today, where we always got something to say about Blue Jays Today. As y'all know, it's Monday, which means it's back to the Blue Jays Today show, recapping everything Toronto Blue Jays baseball this past week. Maybe we'll take a gander at the World Series because that is going on right now as well. Can you believe it? We've been out of baseball land for like effectively a month. Some people are still playing and have stuff to play for right now. Even some former Blue Jays, even some guys that we might talk about in this video, folks. So tons of stuff to get into. We're also going to take some of your questions as well closer to the end of the video. I'm your host, Nicholas Playlog.
Yeah, I'm your host, Adam Peddle. And guys, Blue Jays, we're about a week away, even though we've had a bunch of baseball, we're about a week away from some interesting stuff for the Blue Jays. Free agency is going to begin as soon as the World Series is over. There's about a 5-day grace period. We got to sign back some of your guys. We're definitely going to be talking about that a little bit later in the week, so stay tuned for that, folks. But right now, we got to get a little bit of future goggles going and see what the Blue Jays could be doing. And the big conversation right now around the Blue Jays is, man, where the hell did the power go for the Toronto Blue Jays? It felt like everybody who came back as a Blue Jay last year just fell off. In terms of power, the isolated power numbers just dropped immensely. So yeah, as you would like the returning players on your team to get that power back, one way to help yourself guarantee it is by pursuing some bats, and I think the Blue Jays front office would be a complete bunch of idiots, no offense, if they didn't go get those power bats.
Yeah, well, and I'll come out and say, like, offense if they don't, you know what I mean? Like, it's as clear as day, right?
Yeah.
We got a tweet right here, everybody, that I think just, like, really paints the picture perfectly as to what happened, what transpired with this team in the past year. Flash this thing up right here, right? We're really taking a look at the isolated power, right? That slugging percentage and batting average, and they're looking at 2021 and 2022, where this was one of our best strengths, right?
Yep.
I mean, in 2021, obviously, he was phenomenal because he had Marcus Semien with 45 home runs. He had Guerrero almost touching 50. He had multiple other guys right there really popping off. I think Teo was still having a good year in 2021, right? 2022, still very good. You know, not the tippity top of things, but still very, very good. And then, just right down the drain in 2023, ranked 18th. And it really did feel like there would be series that go by where I don't see a home run at all. It's just like, how is this happening?
If y'all are OGs here and you watch this Blue Jays Today show in the regular season, when it came to that home run category, I had no clue who to pick.
Of course not.
None.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
you still pick Guerrero, but I mean, even he didn't touch 30, you know, and the fact that you're in a, you know, supposedly a hitters-friendly ballpark and not a single player on your team touched 30 home runs and didn't even flirt with the idea of touching 30 home runs until maybe like the very end of the season when Guerrero had like one good week leading up to October, right? It's like that is definitely something that cannot happen to the Toronto Blue Jays. And I do think that power and just acquiring some slug, that needs to be at the top of the totem pole when it comes to free agency and just priorities in general.
Yeah, and I agree. Guys, we have, like the title says here, we've got 8 major sluggers that we've picked out that are available this offseason. Before we do, guys, I do want to give one more shout out to this like chain of just tweets right here to Chris Black. Like he breaks it down phenomenally. Go check out this tweet, guys. But you scroll down a bit, and this is kind of what I was referencing about that ISO power just leaving the Blue Jays. So I think you have a chance to get it all back if you change some philosophies. Maybe, you know, you have some people going and doing some extra training this offseason, aka Guerrero, right? You got a chance to get that all back. But I think, we got 8 major sluggers to look at right here that could easily just come in and replace all that ISO that is left us.
I do want to talk about this list just a little bit because I think this is kind of eye-opening, honestly,
this is
to me. You know, it's like literally even our best players, Bo Bichette, for instance, even our best players, he was down a slight tick. You know, not crazy, right? 6% really isn't a whole lot, but even he was down. Every single player on these Toronto Blue Jays was down. Springer by a crapload. I mean, Whit Merrifield by a crapload. Merrifield probably not going to come back to the Toronto Blue Jays. But Springer, I mean, it's supposed to be Springer Dinger, not Springer slash single.
Where were the Springer dingers,
man? For real. They weren't there.
And another thing, too, while we're kind of going down this rabbit hole, he also brings up a little later, Chris, talking about how the power, and a lot of people kind of joked about like how we put the ball the other way, and like that's really, you know, changed, you know, the whole game. Well, like we in the other season, 2022, we went oppo and straight away, and we were still 7th and 8th in ISO in those years. But you saw last year, for whatever reason, when we were trying to hit the ball the other way, we were weak. And my theory is, it does come down when you break down the swing and you're just trying to slap the ball and put it in play. Yeah, like you will sacrifice a ton of power just when you break down your swing and just put the barrel on it. You're not trying to hit a home run. So with that mindset, that does feel like that's where the power is kind of left.
No, I completely agree with you, man. And I do think that when you see it team-wide like that, when you see it team-wide, if it was one player, two players, okay, like that's just something going on with them. But when it's a team-wide thing, every single one of your starting players has dropped significantly in their power numbers. That has got to go back to the top. That has got to go back to the coaches.
That's a philosophy right
That's
there.
a philosophy.
Yeah.
That's something that is being taught in the offseason. That's something that's being translated throughout the organization. That is Guillermo Martinez bringing these guys in the cages.
God, I want him fired. Just gonna throw it out there. Keep going,
listen,
bro.
No, but that's I think that's what this is boiling down to, right? It's like the numbers are there on the page clear as day that it's like we lost something that made the Toronto Blue Jays the Toronto Blue Jays, because power and hitting for power has always been a thing that Toronto, that's something that we've done well. This past season, clearly the philosophy changed and we lost it entirely.
Look, I don't know what the numbers are on 2 strikes, for example. I think like slapping singles the other way to stay alive in an at-bat is great on 2 strikes. Before that, I want my dudes swinging out of their shoes, smartly swinging out of their shoes on good pitches to hit. But I want them doing that because I want more. We need the power back, man. We need to hit with clutch. We know that. But the power, that could be unexpected 2-3 runs that we didn't have before. I mean, look at we're speaking of the World Series. Look at what you're seeing in the World Series. Games are being decided by the long ball.
Of course, yeah.
And we don't have that. So we got to fix that, guys, with some of these guys.
And I will say this as well, right? Like, just credit to the Arizona Diamondbacks for knowing their strength and playing into their game plan.
Right.
When you look at what's on the page right there, if you're going to be slapping singles and you're going to be doing stuff like that, then you need to be playing the game that the Arizona Diamondbacks have played in this postseason.
You need to steal.
Literally.
Get the double.
Remember,
the double.
Game 7, we were live for Game 7 watching against the Philadelphia Phillies, and every single time one of those dudes got on the first base, literally every single time, they were at least attempting a steal. And they got it most of the times as well. The only times that they didn't get it was their player at the dish actually hit into play, and they moved over anyways, right? But the fact that Lourdes Gurriel Jr. is stealing bases proves that it is in fact possible for anybody to steal bases, because we know how Lourdes Gurriel runs the freaking base paths, right? We did not play into our strengths last season. We tried to change our identity, but didn't do it well enough to actually result in wins.
Yeah, it felt like an in-between team. Like John Schneider thought he knew his team, but didn't realize halfway through, like, buddy, this is not the same Toronto Blue Jays as before. Like, clearly the numbers are showing that we are an Arizona Diamondback team, but lesser, because we didn't actually execute the game plan of small ball appropriately.
I agree, dude. But we do want to get back to the identity, the true identity of the Toronto Blue Jays. And here's 8 guys that are going to do that. Starting things off with Mr. Shohei freaking Ohtani.
We got to talk about it.
Literally, dude. I saw somebody comment something. Go Tani.
I saw that,
That's phenomenal. That's a top tier pinned worthy comment right there. I mean, this guy, like, there's not a whole lot to say here other than the fact that he is phenomenal. 10 WAR in 2023. That's stupid. That's really ridiculous.
Stupid.
184 OPS plus. That's stupid. That's ridiculous. This dude wants to change everything.
You can't look. I know that we're gonna see comments being like, "No, wait, we're getting Ohtani." We're not saying that. We're just saying like these are the dudes that we have to pursue.
Of course,
you know what I mean. Like, if you're not pursuing Ohtani, then you're not a Major League Baseball team.
And listen, I'll also say this: I would wager a bet. I would wager a bet that at least one of the 8 players that we talk about today, Toronto Blue Jays are probably going to acquire, or at the very least, be in the final runnings to get. I guarantee that is going to happen.
If we don't get someone, oh god, that's gonna be horrible.
No,
but I agree with you, dude. I think it's very possible.
100%, dude. And Shohei Ohtani, look, I posted a video about it very recently, and people were like, we're not going to get him. You're in fantasy land. And I was very clear in that video where I said, look, even if the Toronto Blue Jays are 100% in on him, the odds are still low because there's going to be so much competition. But I mean, come on, guys. Like, you got to get in the phone. You got to try.
Yeah, you have to, man. You have to.
Next, sorry to cut you off.
No worries. Sorry, I was gonna say, next player.
Next player. A little bit more realistic here. In fact, I think were we flirting with this dude this past offseason? Was
not
somebody that we were talking about a little bit?
I'm not sure. Shout out to whoever just subscribed. I'm not sure if we were, because I don't know if it really made a whole lot of sense, because when this dude played for his previous team, the Boston Red Sox, he was basically just a DH, and we kind of rotated that. But last year, even in his old age of 36, you still saw him play a little bit of left field, but primarily DH. We're talking about JD Martinez, who absolutely came out of, I guess not nowhere, but came out of his old age and really produced on the big stage.
Yeah.
He hit 33 home runs with a slugging, and this is the second highest slugging on this free agency wire of 572, driving in 103. Now, you got Mookie Betts, you got Freddie Freeman in front of you, so those guys are always going to be on base for you to drive in. But, man, at 36 years old, are you taking the risk to try and bring in JD? He might hold up that DH spot a lot, but so did Brandon Belt.
Yeah.
This guy would actually do damage.
No, I would 1,000% be willing to take the risk on a JD Martinez. 33 home runs this past season. Listen, JD, if you come to the Toronto Blue Jays, tune it out. Whatever Guillermo Martinez has to say to you, like literally, blinders on blinders, because they're teaching something proper over there at the LA Dodgers. They know what they're doing. They know how to get out their power. JD Martinez, this is a dude who has been good at baseball. He understands the mechanics of baseball better than anybody. If there's anybody who can impart some wisdom and can probably help somebody get back into their swing, it is JD Martinez. This is somebody who I could 100% see Guerrero and Bichette and everybody else going and talking to in midseason and saying, hey, dude, like, can you really help me with my mechanics right now? And he will help you. And we have seen time and time again with these kind of like older sluggers. Justin Turner is an example. Nelson Cruz is an example. Guys who have proven it in their career before, they can go a little bit further, right? I don't anticipate that the batting average is going to be like 300 or anything like that.
Right.
But I could still see JD Martinez walking into Toronto, 85 RBIs.
Absolutely.
I can see it.
Dude, he's your now 4-hitter. That's what the Blue Jays have been missing. Like, he's slotted in 4. He's not moving. He's concrete. And that's what you've been missing. You see a lot of guys rotating. Like, I don't care if JD's in a slump. He's still hitting 4. You know, who would hit over him? Kirk? Not happening, right?
No.
JD absolutely be great. And the great thing about it, it's probably going to be another 1-year kind of deal that like for JD Martinez like he had last year. So just do it. Get it done. Pay up. Pay $25 million. You're going to have, again, $40 to $50 million for these Blue Jays to go out and spend. $25 million for JD, 1 year, done.
And also, too, JD Martinez, this feels to me like basically the perfect replacement for a Brandon Belt.
Perfect.
Right? I mean,
not a first baseman, but
you've seen these Toronto Blue Jays go out and target these Brandon Belt-like players who have had long careers, who are now, getting into their older age, primarily going to be that DH role. Maybe if somebody needs to have a day off their feet, they go in, but primarily going to be the DH role. That is exactly what Brandon Belt was. So I think JD Martinez, he is an exceptional shout for these Toronto Blue Jays to target this offseason.
Absolutely. All right, another guy on this list. We've already been shouting him out on this channel during this October Downfest, where there's been nothing going on with the Toronto Blue Jays. We got to bring him up again. It's Cody Bellinger. Same kind of thing that we talked about. We've talked about Shohei Ohtani. We've talked about Cody Bellinger. I feel like a broken record saying it, but again, 26 homers. The slugging in the 500s at 525. He is the perfect. You want to talk about Brandon Belt replacements? He is literally the perfect Brandon Belt because he can play center field. He can play first base. He's still got some youth on him. He's 28 years old. If you're going to sign him, you got to sign him big. But again, we've heard that Ross Atkins said, hey, we're just looking to get people extended to help the winning for the future. And this guy would literally extend your window that much more. And I think it is a no-brainer that you got to be actually getting a budget together for this man right here.
No, I think so too, man. And again, they've come out and they've talked about the payroll staying roughly the same. The payroll staying roughly the same. That means that there is $40 to $50 million that you can ship out. You can play around with. You can do something with that money. Cody Bellinger, he would, be about half to a little bit more than half of that money on average annual value. I would argue probably about the $25 million range if I had to take a wager right there. But that's worth it for me. For a dude who has won MVP in the past, who struggled with the injuries, but then showed that he can bounce back and has the resilience to do that. This is a guy who has been through it all. He has watched his career almost go down the drain. And I feel like somebody who has been through that, They just understand the resilience, and he is going to work for every goddamn thing that he has. And having somebody who come in and just have a work ethic like that, I feel like that, aside from the power, would be a huge thing for these Toronto Blue Jays.
And the Toronto Blue Jays are no stranger to going and inquiring about Cody Bellinger. We did it last year when he was on the Dodgers. I think you're going to see a lot of rumors coming out saying Blue Jays have talked to Cody Bellinger and his team. I guarantee you're going to see that. Now, I saw some comments before when we talked about Cody Bellinger. I want to bring this up to you. Are you, I know you said you're not so worried about Cody Bellinger. You want to bring him on, but does it concern you that he did go 3 years of pure slumping? And like even some years when he was healthy, just still slumped. Are you worried that is that going to come back around?
Well, I think you're going to see that reflected in his contract. I don't. I would be very concerned if we're paying for him with the blinders on of this past year and then the MVP season, right? If that's what the Toronto Blue Jays are doing, or whatever team that he ends up going to, then I would be very, very concerned. But I think that is going to be factored into the contract. So maybe it's not $25 million a year, or maybe it's a shorter term, or there's going to be some type of opt-out clause, right? If you can incorporate an opt-out clause after 2 seasons, right, then okay. I think that you can use that to your advantage and use that and kind of leverage the contract. So I'm not necessarily concerned. And again, there was a lot of injuries involved with that. A lot of injuries, a lot of the once he got injured, then it was kind of on and off the field, and so much negative talk going on there in the Dodgers. The second that he moves over to a new city, a new place, poof, completely changed the mentality. So, no, I'm not, I'm worried, but I'm not too worried.
Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't be shocked either to see him do something similar that I've seen a few players do. Another Cub, Marcus Stroman, where in their around 28-year-old, free agency year, they'll, punch in, 3 strong years of, a big bulk of contract, like a $90 million 3-year deal with an opt-out potentially at the end, so that when they're 31 and they're still performing well, they get another bigger, longer deal for the end of their contract, so they can really soak in that value there and then get it at the end of the year.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I think that the best way to go about getting Cody Bellinger, now this is just from the Toronto Blue Jays, I don't know if he'd even be interested in this at all, but the best way for the Blue Jays, you get him on a 2-year deal at a high average annual value, right? Because again, we got to start factoring into the fact, guys, the window for these Blue Jays, it is starting to run out, and I think that it kind of unofficially, it's looking at that 2-year range where you got Bo and you got Guerrero and, you got some of your pitchers getting older, right, who are on long-term contracts. That's kind of looking like the window right now. And then, depending on what happens in those 2 years, maybe the window's extended, maybe it's time for a rebuild, God forbid, right? But if you could get Cody Bellinger on a 2-year contract and say, hey, listen, man, you're 28 years old right now. We pay you $50 million. We pay you $60 million for 2 years.
Yeah.
You get out when you're 30. If you do really good, you're gonna make a killing.
You're gonna make a lot.
And you're gonna be on a playoff team.
Maybe,
I think that could make sense.
Maybe he doesn't get the contract that he wants. Maybe he wants a 9-year $280. You know what I mean? If that's what he wants. So he's not going to get that this year.
I don't think he's getting that
at all. But if he does 2 great years in Toronto, and I think he would.
I'll tell you right now, man. I don't see Cody Bellinger getting a contract better than what George Springer got.
No.
I don't. Yeah,
this offseason?
No, I don't think so. George Springer got paid $6 for 150, and I did see an article. I'm saying this kind of my own opinion, but I did see an analyst saying that after Shohei Ohtani, they don't predict anybody to get over $160 million. And I do think that that's got to do with the fact that we had 3 bad years in a row. Yeah. It's tough for a team to go, here's $200 million for 8 years.
He won't get that for sure. I think he could crack $100 million for sure.
Yeah, 100.
But it's gonna be tough. I think he's gonna want more, and for him to sign that 4, 5, 6 year deal for $100 million, I think he's kind of limiting himself. If he really wants to show his potential, get paid absolute maximum, he's got to play for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Do it one more time with the Jays, dude. 121 people watching right now, folks. If you haven't already done so, please smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, everybody. I've been noticing a few questions in the chat. We will get to them later. I'm kind of keeping them in the back of my mind right now. Moving on over to the next player. Now, this one might be the most likely. You could make an argument because there's some history with a few guys that we're going to talk about, so you could make an argument. But I think this is the one that Toronto Blue Jays analysts, Twitter, is just really eyeing and saying, you know what? You look like you could be a Toronto Blue Jay. And the guy that we're referring to right now is Jorge Soler.
Yes.
Massive year last year for Jorge Soler. Massive.
Incredible. He hit 36 home runs. Wow. Well, that replaced that home run production right there. 75 RBI, 77 runs on a Miami team that didn't score a ton of runs last year, but he was a big factor in that. He was the heart of that lineup, 853 OPS. And if you look at his past, I mean, he had that 1 year in Kansas City where he hit 48 home runs. Granted, strikes out a lot, still struck out a lot last year, but you saw that with Teoscar Hernandez. It's no surprise. You're going to trade those strikeouts for a lot of power. The reason why I think everyone likes him so much is because he kind of fits that model of like a Teoscar Hernandez where he will hit a lot of home runs, he'll hit a medium batting average, and he plays in the corner outfield DH spot. So, and he's around the same age, and I think it'll be a nice look to get for Jorge Soler. Now, granted, spoiler, we might be talking about Teoscar Hernandez a little bit later, but like he would be obviously Teoscar Hernandez a nice fit because the boys know him there. But this would be a nice look and a change of pace for the Blue Jays. And at 31 years old, he's been going into his 32 years. You're not going to have to commit to him a whole lot. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of good for the Blue Jays.
Well, I think that is potentially maybe the most attractive option, right? Because you're looking at him and you're going, okay, so the concerns that we have with JD Martinez is age. Is age a factor here? No, it's not. No. He's 31 years old. He's right in the middle of his career. The concerns we have with Cody Bellinger is the fact that we have to pay him a crap load of money, and, you know, it's kind of been like this his whole career. We don't have to pay him a crap load of money because we know that Jorge Soler is streaky. In fact, Bill Simmons is coming in here and saying he is streaky. We know that. That would be something that you're buying in. In fact, he probably walks into the meeting and go, okay, look at my June. Don't look at my May. Look at my June, right? Everybody knows that this guy is streaky, and he will have some months where he goes crazy, some months where he's not. But because of that, that is all going to be factored in the contract. This is not a player who's going to make over $100 million. This is not a player who's going to make over maybe even $60 million, right? No. You know, it's like, I don't know exactly what his contract's going to look like, but I think that this is somebody that you could definitely get at a bargain. And if they could come in and have the same type of production of 30-plus home runs and give me that Teoscar Hernandez type of look back there, that's something that we've been missing.
You just described the perfect Toronto Blue Jay. I'm streaky, and I'm in the middle of everything. And it's like, okay, we like these guys. You know, I don't know why. His player type, right? It just feels like a Toronto Blue Jay. It just feels like it. And it's not like we're going to overspend. I like him. I'll do it. I don't care. No, but you can't be your only addition. You know what I mean?
No. I don't know. I definitely don't think that it can be your only one. But I think the luxury of getting a Jorge Soler is like, well, let's shoot the shit right now. What is the average annual value? 16?
Yeah,
17,
16, 18. I guess
18.
Depending on the years, I can see someone playing up to 20, like 16
right?
to 20.
You know what I mean? Well, that still leaves the Toronto Blue Jays with 20, 25, 30 additional $1 million to go out to get another bullpen piece, to go out to, you know, maybe get a bench, a depth player of some type of capacity, right? You can make other moves if you go out and you get a Jorge Soler.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, really quick, got to throw in the sponsor of this video. So big shout out here to Betway.
Whoa! Time for your daily Betway breather. A quick reminder that the best place to bet is on Betway. Must be 19 years of age or older to play. In collaboration with iGaming Ontario, please bet responsibly. Now, back to the content.
Yes, big shout out to Betway, guys. If you're sports bettors, check out Betway. We're halfway through this list, folks.
Yo, quick breather real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
It's 1-1 right now, World Series. Where are you going? Are you still on the Rangers?
No, I'm switching over to Diamondbacks.
You're switching over? You know why? I think I'm on the Diamondbacks,
You know why? Bush throwing out the first pitch in 2001, and then he threw out the first pitch here. They got walked off in Game 1 by the Yankees in 2001. They got walked off. That's the only reason.
It's the script. The script is like it's coming back around.
It's coming back. I think Diamondbacks are winning in 7.
Honestly, I might agree with you there, man. It just feels like there's some type of crazy magic going on that like nobody can really explain, but it's just happening.
Oh, I want it, man.
Let us know your World Series predictions in the comments down below, guys. I'm curious to know where you guys are at.
All right, guys. Next one on this list. We talked about him again already, but you got to bring him up because he is going to be an underrated bat in this free agency. It's Reese Hoskins. Like we said last week, folks, I'm pretty sure it was last week we talked about him. Injured all year long, abdominal. He did not play a single game, but doesn't mean that someone's going to take a shot on him. And I think, again, this is another Toronto Blue Jays kind of signing. You look at Brandon Bell, you look at Kevin Kiermaier, dude's had season-ending injuries and had surgery. This dude is just like them,
100%.
except he's a little bit younger, 30. And I think he's going to be a perfect replacement, again, for that Brandon Belt spot. DH coming off the injury and first base. There's not a lot to not like about Mr. Reese Hoskins. He's consistent. Yeah. You want consistency? You get Reese Hoskins, pair it with Soler.
Yeah, exactly. Like, take a look at those seasons, Like, his worst season ever was in 2022. But it was still great, right? I'd still take those numbers any day of the week. 30 home runs he had there, and just shy of a 800 OPS, 123 OPS plus. That dude would have been a top 3 Toronto Blue Jay if he was on the team this season, So obviously you need to do your due diligence. You got to have him. You got to see what he's looking like right now. You need to have those meetings back and forth and be like, hey, how healthy are you? Are you ready to go? Are you But I imagine if the answer is yes to all of that, then there should be absolutely nothing holding you back whatsoever from going out and getting him. And potentially you might be able to get him at a discount because of that. And I imagine if you're Reese Hoskins, you're thinking to yourself, okay, I'm not going to get the 6-year contract that I want. Yeah, I'm going to need to pay. I'm going to need to have a 1-year deal. And I'm going to need to prove myself again, which I think he will do. Yeah. And I've seen the Toronto Blue Jays, time and time again, go out, pay for these 1-year deals, have them prove themselves, and then go elsewhere. Exactly. So this looks to me like the mold of a player that we would go after.
Absolutely. I think, my modest dream scenario is you pick up a Jorge Soler and you pair it with a Reese Hoskins. Jorge Soler plays a corner outfield. You pair it with a Reese Hoskins who plays first base DH. That's a great combo.
You throw in a cheeky little bullpen piece in there as well. Offseason, bow on it, we're
done.
Good.
That would be and then you got to hope your boys bounce. If Vlad is going to bounce back, you hope that he's going to bounce back big.
You know what? Let's sprinkle in a little bit of a Guillermo Martinez demotion.
Demotion or firing, and then bring in some.
Yeah, it just, that's the thing, right? Like, we can't it's tough to actively say that these guys are going to come in and hit 30 home runs when I know that the mentality is like, let's slap it the other way, guys. I know. So you got to hope that the regression works in the other way, right? It's like you have all this negative regression, and now we're going to work ourselves back to the mean as a team, right? All our guys are going to work themselves back to their average, and then hopefully you bring these guys in and you get that additional boost too.
You know what? And if they're not going to fire Guillermo Martinez this offseason, you got to hope this guy's competent enough to realize, what we changed last year didn't work. Yeah. It really didn't work. Literally. You got to go back. Yeah. You got to go back.
Either that, or we need to be making a video about locking down the biggest speedsters of the MLB free agency. Just guys who can run, because that was what we were missing with our current game plan that we rolled out in 2023.
Oh god, and here's the thing: if you want big sluggers, usually they can't slug unless you're a superstar. If you got a speedster who slugs, that's a Ronald Acuna Jr. You don't see those too often.
Or alternatively, a Cody Bellinger. Sneaky 20 stolen bases this year as well. So really good. To note. Sixth guy that we want to talk about here, guys, is Mr. Candelario. How do you say his first name? Hamer. That's what I think. Correct us in the comments down below, guys. Candelario. I love that name. It's pretty cool. 807 OPS last season. Another sneaky potential acquisition here. What I really like about this guy is the fact that he's got a lot of eligibility in that infield, third baseman, first baseman. And for a team right now who is none sure where their third baseman is going to be, right? Is it going to be Matt Chapman? Is it going to be somebody? Is it going to be one of the young kids, right? Unsure about that. It'd be very nice to have this dude to fall back on, right? If you want to give the job to Elvis Martinez or you want to give it to Addison Barger, great. But if you have Candelario coming in and kind of rotating back and forth and doing a DH thing, then at the very least, if they suck, there it is. There's the solution.
No, exactly, right? And I think that this is probably one of the better spots where you can kind of see, an ISO or a slugging jump. Because the replacement, again, I love Addison Barger, love Elvis Martinez, but they haven't played a single MLB game yet.
Exactly, yeah.
So I have no idea what they're going to get. So if you're looking at just WAR and seeing at that third base bag, what could be without Candelario, right? Because there's not a lot of third basemen out there. It's Matt Chapman and him, right? So if you don't get Candelario, the drop-off is going to be, you're going from Matt Chapman to Espinal. We all rip on Matt Chapman, but Matt Chapman still had some slug in him. Yeah. Not a lot this year, but the drop-off's going to be immense if you compare it to Candelario, what could be, and a rookie. Yeah. So I think that this could help your team overall improve probably one of the most, in my opinion, of any other position.
I'm just, I'm hesitant and I'm scared and I'm nervous. Also, massive shout out here to Eldermark with the dono right there. $149 donation. We appreciate you. I'm scared. I'm nervous. I'm anxious about, considering ourselves to be a playoff team, a contending team that's going for it all, and throwing out a rookie who has never touched an MLB field at potentially the most important defensive position, right? It's like the third base bag, right? That is a critical position. And we've seen it before, having somebody there who doesn't really know exactly what they're doing. Not saying that they don't know what they're doing, but it's just like,
not enough experience.
Tough. Yeah, it is tough coming in. And I'm not about to assume that these guys are just going to immediately like come in and save the day and be the savior for these Toronto Blue Jays. So I am absolutely hesitant at just having them to start the year and being like, hey, rookies, lock it down.
Yeah, like I'm cool with them coming up and, riding the bench and like starting a few games and improving and working their way to a starting role. Like I'm cool with that. But again, like you said, this is supposed to be the window. I can't be trusting a rookie with the window. And I love those guys. I think they're going to be great one day, but I can't right now in the window.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, even you look at some of the other teams, right? Jeremy Pena, I think, is a great example, right? He got the job because he proved it a little bit in the previous season, right? You saw him do it when they literally went on the World Series run. He was doing it, right? So then he starts the next year doing it. I still haven't seen these guys show up yet. Maybe that's on the Toronto Blue Jays for not bringing them up this past season and giving them a few reps. But I do think we need to be going out and looking at somebody.
Agreed. Next guys on this list. We'll start with some old fan favorites, folks.
Old reliables. Let's go.
You want a couple guys that are going to produce on the Toronto Blue Jays, and you're seeing it with this dude in particular producing right now, as we're speaking, literally in the World Series.
Continuing to do stuff.
And that's Lourdes Gurriel Jr., everybody, who absolutely... He did what Lourdes Gurriel Jr. does. Look at the career numbers, right? 466 slugging, 463 slugging, right? He's doing exactly what you want. And what you'd be getting back is a 30-year-old Lourdes Gurriel Jr. You're probably going to sign him for a 3 or 4 year contract, something modest.
Yeah.
May not pay him the 15 to 20 million average annual value that he deserves, and be happy with it. And forget about him. You slot him in the corner, you play him, and you forget. And that's what I want, and that's what I loved about the Lord.
I think that Lourdes Gurriel Jr. is just a really good starting player.
He's a great...
You know what I mean? It's like, he's not going to be the star on your team.
No.
He's not going to be the star on your team. But he's a very good complementary piece, right? This is the player that you want to have on your team, batting 5th, batting 6th, right? He's going to put in work. He's going to score runs. He's going to get RBIs for you, right? And you look at those career numbers. Effectively, all of that, minus this year, was done in Toronto. Most of those career years were done in Toronto, and we have seen him in the past show up and have great seasons. We've also seen Yuli Gurriel, his brother, really pick it up in the second half of his career when he gets older. Now, that doesn't mean that Lourdes Gurriel Jr. is also going to do that, but he could. He absolutely could, right? It's in the genes. I would not be surprised at all if Lourdes Gurriel Jr.'s second half of his career is even better than the first half of his career, right? So this is 100% a player who I frankly don't think we ever should have gotten rid of.
Agreed.
But we did. We made the mistake. I'm hoping that the management has learned from it and been like, hey, dude, we are sorry. Come on back.
Hey, you know what? How fun would that be? He wins a World Series. I kind of want him to win because of this scenario.
Yes.
He wins the World Series. He's satisfied.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to go play wherever I want for the second half of my career. I'm going to go hang out in Toronto where everyone loves me.
Literally. Yeah, dude. For all we know, he's still got the house here.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't know what his real estate situation's like, right? But it's like, for real, if he wins this World Series and the Toronto Blue Jays are like, dude, come on back. And Guerrero's in his text message just saying, dude, come on back. And you got Bichette coming saying, dude, come on back. Then if I'm Lourdes Gurriel Jr., then I might come on back.
Yeah, I mean, hell, if here's a beautiful thing. He's not American. A lot of Americans will go back and play in America.
Yeah.
But he doesn't care. He can play wherever he wants to play. That's the beauty. And he knows Toronto well, so I'd hope... Please, Lord, if you're listening, come back to Toronto, man. Consider it. We better be on the conversations, too.
Yeah, 1,000%, dude. Come on back, Lord. Final dude out of the 8 sluggers that we wanted to talk about here was Teoscar Hernandez, another former Blue Jay.
Yeah.
This one I'm not as sour about because you know what? At the end of the day, the trade... I'm not upset about the trade at all, right? I still like Eric Swanson. I'm very happy that the Toronto Blue Jays have Eric Swanson on this team for several more seasons, right? Like, very, very good. Yeah.
It's 1.4 WAR, but it's a bullpen guy. And it's 2.1 WAR.
Yeah.
It's like I think it's a good trade.
Yeah, like the bullpen guys are always going to be less unless you're literally Josh Hader.
Yeah.
And even his WAR is going to be less than somebody of the same caliber, right? But so I take the trade 10 times out of 10.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I still wouldn't like to see him back on the Toronto Blue Jays.
Absolutely. And this year was kind of like it was a bit of a down year for for Teoscar Hernandez.
Sure it was.
You know, you look at his career numbers leading up, right? He really broke out in 2020 and a little bit in 2019, but really broke out after that COVID year and became the slugger that we've known him as.
Yeah.
And then a little bit of dip. I think that has to do with maybe a change of locations, and also Seattle just overall as a hitting unit was not good. So whatever they were doing there didn't work. But maybe you bring him back. He can really. And this is a guy who actually might want to come back.
Yeah.
This is where I have success before. I know the guys. I know the city. He's a fan favorite. He would be loved. And I think he's another situation where you could sign him for a 4-year deal, 80 mil. 4-year, 80 mil. Lock it in. Forget about him. You love him. You trust him. He's right in the middle of the lineup.
Yeah, I agree, dude, and I definitely understood why the Toronto Blue Jays had the mentality shift of like, you know what, let's trade away the jokers, right? Because that's what Teo and Lord, they were kind of known for, right? They were the funny guys and in the dugout, and you know they were kind of like they were the veterans, but they were also kids in their own right, having fun. And I know that they were trying to get more serious. That was the game plan. We're trying to get more serious. Kind of a joke when you look back at it, right? You know, but bringing in a Teoscar Hernandez now after that whole experiment, as long as there's no sour feelings between him and the management, and obviously we're not privy to how the trade went down, I assume that it was done in a proper manner, so he's not upset about it. But I would love to see this guy back on the Toronto Blue Jays. I feel like he would provide. It would almost be like the glue to the team a little bit, you know?
Yeah, the last year's team, I'll be honest, guys, it felt like a mosaic of just, like, weird collaborations. You know, if you really zoom out, you had Brandon Belt, Kevin Kiermaier, Dalton Varsho.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like a guy playing fantasy on Xbox, MLB, the show, just constructing dudes that, like, didn't know each other at all last year into one environment, and not saying that the environment wasn't good. I'm just saying it didn't feel like a unit. And the whole, like, let's get serious convo, and it's funny, I laugh at it now, because it's like, last year's team in 2022, they had life. You know, some guys underperformed, some guys did well, but you at least felt like there was life in that team. This year, I don't know about you guys, it kind of felt lifeless. It really didn't feel like there was an energy, a passion, a desire to win or prove or to be a team. I don't know. I wasn't with the team, obviously. That's what it felt like, man.
No, I get that. I definitely get that looking from the outside in, and I do think that Teoscar Hernandez coming in would be a boost in that regard. Also, I'm seeing some comments about him leading the league in strikeouts. We know. But he was right up there with the Toronto Blue Jays as well. He has always been a player who's going to strike out. That's just something that comes with the game. It's not something that I love. Obviously, definitely not something that I love.
Struck out 211 times.
That's a crap load. But you got to imagine that there's going to be a little bit of working back towards the mean. And maybe, as we've been saying, that is reflected in the contract that he gets. So you don't have to pay him whatever you said, 4 years, $80 million, right? Maybe that's too much. Maybe that is too much for Teoscar Hernandez, considering he did lead the league in strikeouts and it was a down year, right? So maybe you could get him at a bit of a discount. Maybe he takes a little bit of a quote-unquote hometown discount because he's been here for so long.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, you got to let us know in the comments, what do you think about all these 8 dudes? We're going to do a little bit of a transition, but I want to hear your thoughts on all these guys. Is there anyone we missed? I know some guys were saying like Adam Duvall. That's an interesting dude. There's guys like Jock Pederson out there, but he doesn't have as much slug. But these are supposed to be the sluggers out there in the free agency market.
Yeah. Big shout out here to the next sponsor of this video.
Time for 2 covered bridge potato chips. Made with ingredients from the St. John River Valley and cooked carefully in a local factory, they've got tons of great flavors like smoke and barbecue, sea salt, and sour cream and onion. Get a taste of this delicious flavor cooked the old-fashioned way. Now, back to the content.
Shout out to Covered Bridge. Absolutely elite chips. I'm going to continue to say it. Just scrumptious.
They are absolutely phenomenal, man. We're going to look right now, actually, at Guerrero. This is something that we missed. We just saw him recently. But apparently he's going to be changing his offseason workout plan. That's something that he's going to be doing. And, you're talking about power. You're talking about adding it, right?
Yeah.
Having Vladimir Guerrero Jr. get back to even half of what he was in 2021.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be a pretty big boost.
Yeah, you can all really point to the offseason he had before 2021 when he was just in, working out. And he was in the Dominican Republic. He's always spent his offseasons in the Dominican Republic. But now it looks like he's going to spend it in Florida. In what I'm guessing is the Blue Jays training facility, which is known around the league as one of the best facilities, most up-to-date, most advanced facilities in Major League Baseball. So if he can spend a whole offseason there, with all that technology, with all that, with the staff, the training staff, get into shape, figure out why for whatever reason, his hard-hit balls weren't resulting in home runs. I made a video during this in the offseason about his backspin. Like, was he not getting backspin on the ball? If he could go into the video rooms, pun intended, and figure out where he's hitting the baseball with all that tech, then I think he's got a good chance to have a bounce back. And this would give me a lot more confidence if I continue to see news about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. coming into next year. What about you?
I'll tell you right now, man. If he was in the lab 8 to 10 hours a day, 8 to 10 hours a day, every day in the offseason, 1 rest day a week, 8 to 10 hours a day, every day, 1 rest day a week, he'll come in and he'll hit 50 home runs.
Yeah,
right.
Literally.
But that is the work.
That's the work you got to do.
That's required, right? And it is a lot, right? When I'm saying that right now, like 10 hours a day of like hard work for sure. But it's not that much when you factor in the fact that if you do that, you'll get paid $30 million a year. You know what I mean? Right? It's like, so I think that literally, like the juice is worth the squeeze when we're talking about how much you could get if you just put in the work. And I'm thinking that Guerrero, right? He is now only 2 years away from being a free agent. He is only 2 years away. And after this past season, how can you extend him if you're the Toronto Blue Jays? You can't, right? Those conversations, I don't know if you can have them right now.
Well, I think you're seeing after 2 years of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. not performing like he did in 2021, I think you're seeing him realize that exact thought.
Yeah.
Oh, crap. I can't get paid the money I want to. And I think the Blue Jays, we've been talking about extensions for the last 2 years of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. That conversation is dead now.
It's silent.
It's dead. No, I would let him walk at this rate. So if he wants any chance to get an extension with the Blue Jays or even get a big contract in his free agency year, this is mandatory year to pop off.
Yeah, 1,000%, dude. I mean, he needs to come out and he needs to show up with a high 800 OPS. And if that happens, then the entire conversation walking into next offseason is going to be, okay, now it's final year.
Yes.
Blue Jays have got to extend him, right?
Yes.
And okay, that'll be the case. And if they do, great. If they don't, then it is what it is, right? But from a Vladimir Guerrero Jr. standpoint, that is what you need to do to make your career work for you, man. So I'm hoping that he's realizing that right now.
You know what's funny? We were just talking about Cody Bellinger earlier in this video. Cody Bellinger, granted, had a longer MVP success than Vladdy, but broke out, struggled, and then, came back. So he needs to have that save his
exactly, right? He had a longer MVP run, but he also had a longer and worse slump year than Guerrero, right? So, to each their own, man.
Each their own.
Similarly, somebody who needs to get back into the lab is Alejandro Kirk. We actually got a question coming in here from Delta King saying, do you guys think that Kirk is going to stay? Do you think that Kirk is going to stay?
Stay as a Blue Jay?
I assume that's what they meant.
You kind of have to. Like, the moment you traded Moreno, you said, these are the dudes we're running with. We're running with Danny Jansen, we're running with Kirk. You still got 3 more years of Kirk. So you're riding with him. He's going to stay.
Yeah, exactly, man. Done. It just, there's no way that you could potentially trade him right now. And the Toronto Blue Jays, it's not like they have any other, like, big-time catching prospects to come in and to do that role. Yeah. That was Moreno. And he's doing what everybody thought that he would, right? So we made that choice. There's no going back now. There's no way that they would ever go back now if you're the Arizona Diamondbacks, right? So the Blue Jays, they have got to trust that Alejandro Kirk is going to come back around. This is, again, why I get on Guillermo Martinez, because, as much as we're going to get on Alejandro Kirk, there's got to be a mentality thing, right? Because Kirk's at-bats last year, they were completely different than what I've seen in any year prior, right? Yeah. And the offense as a whole was not good. So is that on Kirk? Is that on Guillermo Martinez? Probably a little bit of both right there. But I anticipate some positive regression from him.
And what's funny? Maybe this is a bad thing, or maybe he needs to go back to this. But when Kirk first came up in the league, and they were asking, like, so who do you turn to for advice on your hitting? He goes, myself. and he came out of the league and was really good offensively. And you were like, okay, well, clearly, like, whatever yourself is telling yourself is working. But then you wonder, is he not telling himself the right things now, or is he hearing some other advice from Guerrero Martinez? That's what we don't know. Yeah. And I'm curious to follow that story along. Not only is just preparation to the season, but what is his mentality now for the next year?
I agree, dude, and it is a very good, luxurious position to be in if you're the Toronto Blue Jays, because let's face it, guys, even if Kirk is the way that he was this past season, which was not good, but actually in terms of a catching position, like kind of average.
It was average.
But it still wasn't great. The Blue Jays will still have Danny Jansen, and he should be 100% healthy walking into next season, right? So, and we know that he's going to provide the pop. He's also kind of streaky, but you're going to get the home run from Danny Jansen basically every week or so. So that is something to be happy about. Lord Chronos coming in here and saying, give Barger a shot and replace Kikuchi with a good starter via trade. Do you think that there's any potential that the Toronto Blue Jays are looking to replace Yusei Kikuchi? Or replace Kikuchi, and then, on the flip side of things, just trade him in general?
I think trade him in general, that second half there. Trade him in general, yes. We've talked about maybe a 1 year. Like, he's on a 1 year right now, and then he'd be a good flip option, kind of like we saw with Teo and Lord. Just flip him over, get whatever you need, a bat, whatever it takes, because he does provide some potential for a team looking just for a quick 1 year punch. For Yusei Kikuchi. And then the first half of that question is, do you think we
replace him?
Yeah. Well, if we trade him, we're going to have to replace him, right? But if we replace him on the free agency market, potentially. I think if we do trade him early on, you're going to see us go out and make an addition in the free agency market like we did with Teoscar Hernandez.
I agree with you, but I just don't think that the Toronto Blue Jays are going to be investing a decent amount of money into a starter this offseason.
No, it's going to be a lower.
It's going to be a lower thing. And I also think, too, the more that I think about trading Yusei Kikuchi, if the deal's right, you do it, right? So he is available. Available. But it also feels like kind of one of those like weird things where it's like, okay, we're going to trade this guy there, then we're going to bring in this guy to replace this guy, even though this guy was doing this thing, right? So it just kind of feels like a convoluted thing and more of a video game scenario than what would be a realistic.
Easiest way to solve this is you go sign one of these bats that we talked about in this video. That's it, because that's what you're looking for. That's what you're trading for. So if that guy isn't available on trades, or if you don't think you're going to get any of these bats, then you have to do that trade. But easy, just keep Yusei. He's good here. He did well here. Just bring in the big bats.
Agreed. No, it kind of feels like a second option if you're not going to acquire any of these dudes. It looks like those are all the questions that we got today, folks. So shout out to everybody who's come along and watched with us, folks. As we said, we're doing this every single Monday. The Blue Jays Today Show, bringing you all the Toronto Blue Jays offseason news and rumors. We're going to have video coming out tomorrow, video coming out Wednesday, video coming out on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then we're going to be back to Monday doing this again, So literally hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, everybody. We appreciate all of y'all, folks.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. And go Jays, go!